I always talk about how it's not about you. We're going to get you to your place. We're going to get you to your school. We're going to get you to UConn. We're going to get you to Kentucky. It's about the guys after you. And so I think that's what's also great about City is we prepare them so well for any school we're at, any type of environment, that they not only represent themselves well, they represent our program well. So that way we can get more players into those programs.
Welcome back to the Fear the Purse podcast, the official podcast of Vaquero Baseball. I'm your host, Jeff Walker, head baseball coach. This is episode 3. Today, we have a special guest joining us, David Yamane. Coach Yamane is currently an assistant coach at Santa Barbara City College. He has worked with both infielders, outfielders, pitchers, also specializing in mental skills and sports performance. David will be talking about his coaching journey and his coaching duties at Santa Barbara City College. David spent time as both at the junior college level and Division I level. This is an awesome episode that highlight David's coaching philosophy, style, various mentors, various stops, and what he brings to Vaquero baseball. Today's episode of the Fear the Purse podcast is brought to you by Lily Fitness. Train smarter, move better, perform at your best. Lily Fitness, located 111 Santa Barbara Street in the Funk Zone, group classes, personal training, and more. Lily Fitness, Santa Barbara's top coach for full body strength, mental clarity, and lasting results. For more info, go to www.lilyfitness.com to book your session today. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fear the Purse. I am your host, Jeff Walker, head baseball coach at Santa Barbara City College. And we are joined today by David Yamane, who he doesn't know, he's been newly promoted to associate head coach of the Santa Barbara City College program. I'm going to talk about his experience and what he does with the Vaqueros and everything Vaquero baseball. So let's go ahead and jump right in. For David, for those of you guys that don't know you, tell us a little bit about your baseball background and how'd you kind of come to be a coach?
Well, first, thanks for having me on this podcast. Appreciate it, Coach. It'll be fun. But in terms of me coaching, I coached about 20 plus years at the collegiate level between the D1 and California community college levels. I actually started coaching just as a way to give back to the community because I grew up in Hawaii. My mom was a single mom. And if it wasn't for all those parent coaches that spent time on me and making sure I was always at practice, always at games, I might not have gone to college. So I just knew it was one of those where I was going to give back to the community in some way in terms of coaching before I got a real job. And so started coaching summer ball, started coaching high school baseball, and then I got my first taste of college baseball as a coach at Edmonds Community College in Washington. And the head coach at that time was Don Marbett, who ended up being the head coach at Washington State University. And so from there, he was a great introduction to college baseball coaching. And just the support system I had in terms of my friends was outstanding to the point where it was like one of them actually said, why don't you just do this for a living? You enjoy doing it. You enjoy putting the time into it. You love talking about the development of these kids that you work with. And after that kind of got in my head, then this journey has been great. I mean, I've got to go all over the place. I've coached in Washington, California, New York, Europe, have the opportunity, like I said, to coach at different stops along the way. And it's been a great experience learning from other people, as well as having the chance to go ahead and work with kids that have gone on to the major leagues and have also been like me, first generation college graduates. So, that's kind of how I got into it. And, just this whole journey has been fun.
Yeah, name dropping is certainly encouraged on this podcast. And I know you got a lot of names to drop, which is what makes you such a good addition to our program. And, David's, finished his second season last year with the Vaqueros and, is a baseball guy. So a lot of young coaches kind of get pigeonholed into certain, areas, whether it's pitching, hitting, infield, whatever. David kind of can do it all through his experience in doing that. So why don't you walk us the path of the places you coached at, the influences that you had that, and finally, where I got to beg you to come onto our staff and help move the needle and go in the right direction.
I don't know if beg's the right word. It's just a good fit for both of us. And large part of it is at this level, I got to go watch my kids play volleyball in high school. So that's a big reason why I'm at Santa Barbara City. It fit really well. But my journey, like I said, I started at Edmonds Community College. Don Marbett was the head coach there. Learned infield play from him, and he ended up being the head coach at Washington State University. And then I went ahead and took over the varsity head coach position at Roosevelt High School in Seattle. And that's an inner city school. And they're in arguably one of the toughest conferences or leagues in that state. And so one of the things I do with my players and with myself is always self-evaluate. And one of the big questions I ask myself at the end of the year, every year, and along the way is, knowing what I know now, what would I have done differently if I could do the season over again? And so that's how I ended up being a certified strength and conditioning coach, because we were physically outmatched. And then after that, we were just as physical. We were teaching them how to play the game the right way, but mentally we're way behind. And what I mean by that, it's like we would get leads, or the other team would start coming back or start putting pressure on us, and we would fold. And I didn't know how to teach that. And so talking to Coach Marbett, and then I ended up going to a clinic where Ken Revisa, who's a longtime mental performance coach for a lot of big programs in the college and pro level, him and Mike Weathers, who's the head coach in Long Beach State at the time, I talked to him about the mental game and got so immersed into that I actually went to grad school at Cal State Fullerton for that, where I got to learn from George Horton, who was the head coach at Fullerton, and at the same time also coaching at Santa Ana College under Don Sneddon, who was the all-time winningest coach at the community college level. So I got to learn about the mental game through those guys, and, went to Long Beach City College after that, where Casey Crooks, the all-time winningest coach there, led them to a state championship. And then I went to Long Beach State under Coach Buckley, who was the head coach there, and then went to Siena College out in New York, coached under Tony Rossi, who was at the time the longest tenured D1 coach, 54 years, I think he finished his career.
Wow. I am not going to be coaching at Santa Barbara City College that long, just as an FYI.
I can't even imagine doing something that long, let alone being alive that long to this point. And then I came back to California to LA Harbor College. Coach Alvalar is a good friend of mine. And a lot of it is just because moving around, and I also coach in Europe, moving around, you miss out on a lot of your kids growing up. And so coaching at Harbor allowed me to see them grow up a lot. And then I recently left to come to the city because my kids are in high school, or they were in high school, and they played volleyball. And coaching at Santa Barbara City was a good fit because I could watch all of their games. I don't think I missed any games last season for my son, and I still could coach baseball. And it was, just a different atmosphere. It was an opportunity to still be relevant coaching baseball. And at the same time, like I said, get to watch my kids do something they're passionate about. So yeah, I bounced around all over the place. And during that time, Coach said that I've had the fortune of learning from a who's who of coaches. And, if I want to name drop now, Don Marbett, I learned infield from him, as well as Jesse Zapata at Long Beach State. And
Mike Weathers. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Weathers. And I also had the privilege of working with Troy Tulowitzki and Matt Duffy and a couple of those guys that went on to be, major league infielders, because they'd always come back and we'd talk baseball about that. I got to learn outfield play from Joe Ross at the University of Washington and Rick Vanderhook at Cal State Fullerton, who also led them to a national championship there and at UCLA. Got to learn hitting from, Hookie as well. Joe Ross, who's I think, like I said, at UW, and now he's in the Mariners organization. And John Bryant at Santa Ana College, who was a player at Fullerton when they were national champions. What do we got? Infield, outfield catching, Troy Buckley, who was the all-time West Coast Conference catcher. And he was a longtime major league or minor league coach, and also on our team, our catching coach, Coach Aggs. We talk catching a lot, always trying to learn. He was the AAA coach for the Twins at one point, and he's on our staff. So, you get the idea. I've had a lot of guys that I've got to be around. Think about Coach Weathers. We talked about that, or Dave Snow, who brought Long Beach State to 4 trips to Omaha or something like that. And Coach Rossi, they taught me a lot about attention to detail and how to organize a team and a practice plan. Because, you talk about how detailed those guys are, or Coach Horton and Fullerton. Every minute, everybody's accounted for. They have a purpose for everything they do. And it's pretty amazing just how much I learned from them in terms of just being detailed and being in terms of planning ahead.
And a fun fact is you do coach the infielders and you're left-handed by nature, but you actually show them how to play infield right-handed. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. That is true. I am left-handed by nature. I was an outfielder by nature, but I wanted to coach baseball, so I had to learn. And so just learning from Marbit, learning from Zapata, I started doing things right-handed. And when players ask me that, I tell them like, well, let's think about it. If I walk out there left-handed and showing you things left-handed, I lose all credibility with you because you're like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But when I start showing them how to do things right-handed and I explain to them like, it's really that simple and you're going to do it with your dominant hand and I'm doing it with my opposite hand, it really helps them settle down and get them to understand like, you know what, it's not as hard as we make it. And, when we talk about infield play, all we're doing my philosophy with that is, hey, we're just playing catch. Ball hit on the ground, just catch the ball. Ball hit on the line, catch the ball. Ball hit in the air, catch the ball. Ball thrown to you, catch the ball. And, we go into more detail on how to accomplish that. But yeah, I do it right-handed with the guys all the time and they love it. Our coaches love it because, now it's like, well, shoot, if he can do it right-handed, we have no reason why we can't do it. And, you mentioned that I'm proud of Coach West, our new infield coach this past year. He took it a step further, and 3 of his guys this past season won a Gold Glove, which is pretty outstanding.
Those are your guys too. So you set the foundation. So don't set yourself short on that one too. So you did help with the infielders. You worked a lot more with them 2 years ago, kind of changed roles with you a little bit this past year. But as Coach Yamane mentioned, we had our third baseman, our shortstop, and our second baseman all were Gold Glove winners in our conference. And we, had a pretty elite defense all the way around the diamond, first base, not to be excluded too, because they're the ones making the infielders look good over at first base, which I know, you as well as myself, we do enjoy teaching first base with that as well. So, great job with that. Now I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. You kind of touched upon, I kind of say it's, and say it's a secret weapon, but the mental skills. And I've had a lot of coaches reach out is our players do transfer on the next level. And we've had a lot of success of not just getting them there, but just when they do get there as they play. And there's a lot of things that go into it rather than just the talent side of it. So I would say one of the things that you're always teaching the guys about what it's like at the next level, because it's community colleges. We do run a full college baseball program and the experiences that they're going to see, but it's not the same as far as, some of the daily stuff and the ins and outs. But I think a big piece of that too is the mental side with a lot of those kids of the habits that they've developed here and under your leadership. So, you have a master's degree in sports psychology and mental performance from a pretty good, you dropped the Ken Revisa thing. He's kind of the godfather of that in our sport. Can you talk a little bit about your role within the team on, helping enhance that, area of expertise and helping develop players on that side?
Yeah. A lot of the programs, before I even get to that, a lot of the programs I've had the privilege of working with and the athletes I work with, it's usually the elite players that seek out the mental performance aspect of it. And the reason why I think it's because, you always have training for like physical development or technical development, like hitting, for example, or fielding, because they're tangible. You can see the results. The challenge is like with mental performance, it's more of a feel. And the reason why I bring that up, because a couple of the programs I've been affiliated with for a long time, like Long Beach State and Cal State Fullerton, and also UCLA with Coach Savage, is those players, they do have talent. But like you had said, the things we teach with them in terms of a mental aspect to help them with, the daily grind of baseball, not only at the collegiate level, but the pro level, teaching them, how to go ahead and overcome adversity, help them identify, their passion. And, because I say passion because some of them like the idea of playing baseball at a high level, but they're not committed to it. And so there's so many different parts or components to like mental performance. It's really based upon the individual and the team. And so the reason why I name drop those schools is because if you look at the guys that move on to the pro level, they have a higher percentage of players getting to the majors and being retained in the majors. And when I talk to those players, is because they have the mental tools to handle on average 6-7 years of minor league baseball. And so, bringing that over to Santa Barbara City, it's the same thing, is helping them identify, baseball in terms of what level do they want to play at? Is it just an idea that, hey, I want to be at that level, or are they committed to it? And and the reason why I say that, we had a pitcher a couple of years ago, Max, who Division I talent, but he flat out said he wanted to go to a Division III school because he wanted to go ahead and didn't want to miss out on the social aspects of college. And so that's his prerogative. And so he went there and he played baseball. He got to do everything and he's enjoying himself. And so it's just helping them identify, what their passions are, what they're willing to sacrifice, if you will, and how to handle that adversity along the way. And so like at City, different last year and the year before, like my focus was different. My first year there, I think about our pitching staff. We had guys, one went to UConn, one went to Purdue, one signed with the Dodgers. I mean, you get the idea. We're very talented, but I don't know how to say it, we suck. And talking to the team, talking to that pitching staff, they were trying to do everything. And what I mean by that is they felt they had to strike everyone out and show that they were worthy of being D1 talent or pro talent on their own. And so in terms of mental performance, we actually had to change their mindset and help them understand that they just have to do them well. And that was a big thing with that pitching staff a couple of years ago, is get them to understand, just do you well, just do what we ask. You don't have to do anything more than compete in and around the strike zone and trust the results. And that was a big thing, was getting them to just trust their stuff, trust their teammates, trust the work they put in. And, the results not only speak for themselves, where the players ended up matriculating to.
Was there a moment where you're like, okay, this is working, and that team from 2 years ago and this past year?
You know what? A lot of it, when it's working, is when the players themselves start taking ownership of it. And what I mean by that is they're the ones helping each other. Hey, like you hear like the jargon, hey, step off, take a breath. You're okay. We'll pick you up. Or they'll ask me, because we'll give them feedback sheets, and then we'll have conversations, and they'll take ownership, like, hey, you know what? I got sped up today and I couldn't remember, or I couldn't figure out how to slow things down. So and they'll ask, can we work on this? And so that's when I know things are working, is when they're fully invested and they're stepping out of their comfort zone. Because for you to improve as a person in general, not just an athlete, you have to be willing to push your comfort zone. Because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're not going to improve. It's when we stretch those boundaries, that's when we start developing and improving. And so, yeah, like that, when they start taking ownership of it, or even this past season, when we start introducing things, the returners start taking control of it, and they're the ones teaching the next group of guys. And that makes it part of our everyday life, and what I mean by that is that's something that, hey, you come in here, this is just part of how we improve and how we play the game. So yeah, that's when I know things are working, when the players themselves are taking ownership and they're the ones teaching each other, and they're using the jargon, and they're asking for feedback as well.
One of the things I like that you do with our team is you write the vocab words on the board and what they mean and what they should be saying with the situation. And, they start speaking that language. And when you start getting, that's for me, is when guys start saying the things that we do, that there is buy-in. I mean, for me, it's the dugout decorum stuff, where, saying the appropriate things at the appropriate time, and then the mental side stuff that you have. And we have that dry erase board where you have the kind of do's and don'ts, and this is what you'd be saying in the situation. So, and you're right, like with just taking the ownership of it and making, the understanding of how important it is, and how it can be a missing link for guys, making good players great or average players good. Another thing that you touched upon was one of our former players, where, hey, he wanted to play at that level and it was the right fit for him. I think another thing that we do a good job of, it's not just finding a place, it's finding the right place. And a lot of that does come from communication and knowing that kid. And sometimes things change a little bit, but I think that's kind of goes into the success of not just getting somebody there, giving them the tools and equipping them to have success, and then, making sure it is the right fit of what they're looking for academically and athletically. Location's obviously a big thing. It's tough to leave Santa Barbara and go anywhere in the world, but it is, can be nice to kind of go see some different places and let baseball take you there. You mentioned, it's, the family piece of being in the area and coming back, and, which is an important piece of any college coach. What would you kind of know about Santa Barbara City coming into our program? And then after being here, and you've been in a variety of different programs, both at the community college level and maybe specifically, what kind of sets us apart, or, in your mind, kind of makes us different than some of those other places that you've been, as far as both the community college and then a program?
Well, what I knew about City was we were good. Like we were consistently good. And what I mean by that is if we ever ended up playing Santa Barbara City, we're going to have to play baseball. And so Coach Walk, and as I learned being here at the program, you did a phenomenal job changing the culture and the standard of what's to be done here at City. So me coming here was great because it's a lot of the things that we do here, or everything we do here is what I like about the community college level. We're developing the whole person. We're not just, like, hey, we're going to make you the best baseball player we can. We're also making sure you take care of your academics. So we've won the ABCA Academic Award, Team Academic Award for the last several years. I mean, we've had players that decided to step down from baseball a little earlier because they got into schools like Vanderbilt and UCLA. And so they just decided to change their path a little earlier than expected because of the opportunity there. And, so all of that stuff was great just walking into this because these guys all understand that we're preparing them for the next level as a student athlete. And we're also giving them skills that they can transfer into their everyday life. And, that's one of the things that a lot of these players, coaches done it, myself, helping them understand that the things they learn as a baseball player, as an athlete, when they go into their corporate world interviews, they apply to what they're looking for. And that's why a lot of these places love athletes because they learn about team. They already know how to do teamwork. They know how to go ahead and deal with adversity. They learn, they know how to go ahead and compensate and adjust when goals aren't met and they have to go ahead and rearrange things because they still have to be productive, all those sorts of things. And so coming to City was great. I mean, huge support because I'm a big academic person. Everywhere I go, I've been responsible for academics. So coming here, having the support not just of Coach Walk, but the administration as well. It's been great. The resources we have to develop them as baseball players, like we have all the things that the technology that pro and the elite D1 programs have, which I'm like, wow, it's like a little kid. Like
as I told you, as good, if not better than, schools at that next level.
Yeah. And then on top of that, this community college is unique because it's a true college experience. And the reason why I say that is because we took over the old UC Santa Barbara campus. So we have a beautiful campus. I call it Pepperdine Junior. So those of you who have ever been to Pepperdine, it overlooks the Pacific Ocean. It's on a hill. We're the JC version of that. I mean, shoot, where we have study hall, you just look up and you're looking at the ocean. I mean, talk about calming you down when you're trying to learn. It's pretty cool. And so, but the whole thing was you have like apartments and dorm style apartments all around campus where you have City and UC students living together. And so like my son this upcoming year, if he doesn't get into his top 2 schools, he's already decided he wants to come to City because he wants that college experience, even though he's going to a JC. And so that's, for me, it's really neat because that would be so cool if my son comes here, because then he'll come down, he'll watch dad do his thing, and we get to still spend more time, even though he's in college and he's still being independent because he's living in apartments, but it's still set up where it's, some of them have meal plans and everything. And they, like I said, they're with City students, they're with UC students. And if you look at our student body, it's akin to a 4-year school because we have so much diversity in terms of nationally and international students. So it's a really great setup here for you to develop as a person and as a college student.
Talk a little bit about coaching. What are your non-negotiables with an incoming player?
My non-negotiables? Well, that's a great question. I mean, the only thing I can think about is being respectful. And what I mean by that is respectful to your teammates, to yourself, to your coaching staff, to your administration, to the field we play on, because to me, it's a privilege that we get to put on that uniform every day. Now, when I say respectful, I do understand that not everybody comes from the upbringing that I have. So some of them have to learn a little bit more. And that's one of the things I learned from Coach Snennen at Santa Ana was everybody's at a JC for a reason. They're almost always deficient in at least one thing, whether it's academics, social ability, physical maturity. They made mistakes as a baseball player, so they might have had to have come back from a 4-year school and get a second chance. But the reason why I bring that up is because even though I think being respectful to yourself, your teammates, this opportunity, still work with them. I mean, we are at a JC. It's not like we're at a Division I school where, okay, we've got this kid, we've got someone in here, he's being disrespectful, he's a poor representative of the program and himself, and we got to get rid of him because I don't know how to say it, but at that level, they got to win. I mean, they can talk about all the development and everything they want.
We have a little bit more flexibility to invest in guys and to get them where they're going.
Sure. Yeah. And so like,
which makes this level great.
yeah, and so that's why I love this level because, I think of one of our players, Nick. I mean, for 2 years working with him, and it was really neat that he came up to me and said, "Look, I have to really work on my maturity." And we worked with him. It was a challenge. You know what I'm talking about. And he's one of the guys that tried, and he still has some work to do. But he goes and plays at a 4-year school. He'll be a quality representative of not only himself but our program. And for me, with the players, I always talk about how it's not about you. We're going to get you to your place. We're going to get you your school. We're going to get you to UConn. We're going to get you to Kentucky. It's about the guys after you. And so I think that's what's also great about City is we prepare them so well for any school we're at, any type of environment, that they not only represent themselves well, they represent our program well. So that way we can get more players into those programs. I mean, great example is this: a couple of years ago, KJ went to Purdue. I think, was that your first Purdue player, coach?
Yeah.
And then did so well that they reached out to you, and now they were talking to our third baseman. And a lot of it is because KJ did his thing and he represented us well, represented himself well, that they liked that transferred over to Purdue, and he represented Purdue well as well. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things is that, yeah, we work with them, and just helping them learn how to be respectful of this opportunity is huge. Some of them take longer than others, but when you see them get to that end and that light at the end of the tunnel, it's a great feeling, because then they get to keep doing what they enjoy doing.
Today's episode of the Fear the Purse podcast is brought to you by Lily Fitness. Train smarter, move better, perform at your best. Lily Fitness, located 111 Santa Barbara Street in the Funk Zone, group classes, personal training, and more. Lily Fitness, Santa Barbara's top coach for full body strength, mental clarity, and lasting results. For more info, go to www.lilyfitness.com to book your session today. Yeah, I think some of your non-negotiables, as they align with, with us, where, my role as a coach is to take them or our role is take them from where they're at to where they want to go. Coaching the players, making them better, have fun, competing, and then the result is the result, and winning's the outcome. Another thing too, I know you're big on, is being comfortable, uncomfortable.
Yep.
Getting outside your comfort zone, and I say that with guys is you have to be okay being uncomfortable to get to where you want to go. And whether it's the environment, whether it's something, I mean, we're going to make, some suggestions, some changes. Some guys need some polishing. Some guys need some overhaul. Some guys need some study skills, whatever it may be. It may not be the easiest or the most convenient thing, but you drop John Savage's name. I don't think at UCLA's locker room, as they say, the road to Omaha is easy and convenient. So, our place or style might not be for people that are seeking easy and convenient, but certainly it does pay dividends. And that's a lot of the feedback that I've gotten through the years of guys that moved on and had success, where, they get to those programs and they're the ones taking ground balls early and staying late. And they've kind of have an idea of what it kind of takes to kind of move. And maybe some incoming guys at the 4-year level, they maybe lack some of the maturity or some of those things, of having to do the things that they need to do here in order to advance their careers, both academically and athletically. So I think we share the same end on that one, where, we're demanding, but we're not demeaning. And so there is a high standard to go. There's a success, but ultimately we're trying to move guys in the right direction and go forward from there.
And you made a great point. I forgot about that. Like, what's great about City is it is demanding, but we keep reminding them that, hey, the purpose of this is because we're preparing you to be successful at the next level, not just get to the next level. And I think that's a huge thing at City, is how much do those guys transfer on, but they also succeed at that next level. And I think that's huge. And then the second part was, it's fun playing at City. Like, you watch a guy, sure, we work hard, but when they go and play the game, even at practice, they have fun. And the things that we do for team building, I mean, shoot, we're going to Hawaii in January to start our season. I mean, that's a pretty great team bonding experience where guys have those memories together. I mean, there aren't too many JCs that do that. And, a lot of those guys, first experience on a plane, let alone going out of state to a different time zone. You're playing against competitive 4-year programs, and you're learning how to negotiate, having fun in Hawaii while still going ahead and being competitive. So I think that having fun component is lost a lot of times, because we're always work. But at City, it's great because we have fun. We let the kids play when we get to the games, and and then it shows in the way they play. They're a lot more relaxed and they just go out there and just go compete.
One more things. So you mentioned about some of the things with guys coming in here. Is there, a potential recruit that you're talking to? I mean, is there something that kind of catches your attention? Okay, this guy's a good fit. And the follow up with that is a guy does come into our program, or your experience of what do you think, like the first thing, like that freshman first to college, what's going to kind of trigger his, catapult into being a successful college baseball player in our program or any other?
I think the biggest thing is for us as a staff is that we get to know each player as an individual. And I think that builds trust in the staff and the program. And the reason why I bring that up is because when we show that we care about the individual, they're more receptive to the feedback they get, even if it makes them uncomfortable. So like, for example, you talk how I worked with the infielders, or actually no, this past season working with the bullpen, because we had to readdress our bullpen routine. And so we cleaned it up, and we actually, they trusted me enough that when we revamped our whole bullpen setup, guys were concerned, obviously, but they went ahead and jumped right in, and we changed our whole routine. And the reason why is because they knew that the routine that we're setting up for them in the bullpen was akin to the guys that I've had the privilege of working with at even the major league level as relief pitchers. And just making sure that they understood that failure is part of the process as long as we learn from it. And we're going to always be there to support them through those challenges. And so I think, like all those freshmen, when they come in, knowing that, hey, our goal is to help you get to that next level. Our whole goal is to help you succeed at that next level. This is how we go about doing it. And there's an open door policy where they can go ahead and talk to us and, one-on-one if they have to, or in a group. And I think what's also great after that first year, now we have returners and they're supporting the new guys. And I think that's really huge in a program to be successful like this one is the previous years or the returners reinforce what the coaches are trying to do, and they help the freshmen succeed. And you see
It's called culture, right?
Yeah.
Culture is what you allow.
But, culture is what you allow on a consistent basis. So we can talk about culture and how we want it to be where everybody helps everybody else. But I mean, sure, I'm sure there are programs that talk about that. Like, let's say, oh yeah, our returners are going to help the freshmen improve and help them out. But when you go ahead and you watch it, the actions on a daily basis don't mirror what you talk about. And I think that's what's outstanding about this program is the actions you can just watch and you can see what we allow and what is expected. So like you said, we have, we had our returning closer. He struggled this past year, but he was pulling and helping his teammates in the bullpen succeed, even though guys were taking innings from. And we had guys on the field. All that kind of stuff is because we're all in it together, and they all understand that we're going to help you as a team and as a staff be successful at this level and at the next level. And that amount of trust, I think, comes back to them knowing that they're truly cared for in this program, that they'll always be a Vaquero. They'll always be, embraced here, even when they leave and they come back. I mean, shoot, we have guys that transfer out of our program to other JCs, and we see them and we're pulling for them. Just not good enough to beat us, but we still want them to succeed because it was a better fit there because they would have more opportunities to play. It is what it is, but they're still a Vaquero, because they were here, they put on that uniform for a year, and I think that really helps out with the freshman class that the returners truly do have a vested interest in them succeeding because they keep that culture alive. They keep that legacy. They keep Santa Barbara City prominent. And, the coaching staff, like I said, they've done a phenomenal job from what I've been part of, getting to know them as individuals and showing that they truly care about them, not just as athletes, but as people. Like for me right now, we have guys in summer school, my guys that are, concerns for me. We've been texting and talking almost weekly, making sure they're on track. And I don't know how many programs their coaches are following up with their athletes in summer school, making sure that everything's okay, that they have their resources, that if they need me, that, I'm just a text or a phone call away. So, just that support for them, I think it helps them navigate through the challenges of not just baseball, but being a college student and working towards being an independent person.
This has been awesome. You're awesome. Mental skills guru, bullpen coach, infield coach, jack of all trades, master of everything. You're a JC guy. I'm a JC guy. A lot of the coaches we have on our staff are JC guys, moved on and play at the 4-year level. Obviously, we're advocates at this level. What would you kind of say in closing or advice? You know, you have a lot of people out there. Sometimes junior college gets kind of a stigma, you know, about, you know, guys couldn't get into school or whatever. But what advice would you give, you know, a potential student athlete who is considering the JC route, and then, you know, whether specifically here or someplace else?
For me, looking at the JC level, their careers are going to come to an end. You got 4 or 5 years left, you know, depending with the D1 thing, 5 for 5. And so for me, it's, you know, go where you have opportunities to develop, I think is the biggest thing, because you don't want to go and just be buried on the bench at some of these places. Like, go where you can develop, go where you can learn, go where you're going to be supported, and go to a place. And you know, you're interviewing the schools just as much as we're interviewing you to see if you'd be a good fit. And so, like for me at City, you know, like my son, he's the one, I love him. He's not going to play volleyball anymore, but he's the one that said why he'd go to City. He goes, the academic support there is going to help him get to his top 2 schools if he doesn't get into them right out of high school. You know, he said that all the strength and conditioning, we have a strength coach that helps us develop. We have a mental performance coach that, you know, helps us develop. And those are all the things that pro and D1 programs have. We have a coaching staff where everybody on our staff has played and or coached at the D1 level and or pro ball. So we know what it's like to get there and what it takes to be successful there. And so all I'm saying is do your research, have an open mind. Will it be challenging coming to City? Absolutely. But if you truly want to get to where you want to get to, like Coach, like you said, it's not convenient and easy. It's going to be covered with challenges. And one of the things that, like, I talk with my kids is it never gets easy. It's never going to get to a point where, you know what, hey, baseball is going to be easy and school is going to be easy, because when you start mastering that level, guess what? We're going to put you at a higher level. We're going to put you at the Division I level. We're going to put you in calculus. And so the whole point to summarize is do your research. Look at where what programs have things in place and have a track record of success to go ahead and get you to where you want to be. And secondly, help you succeed where you want to be. And that's why City's really great, because, I mean, you look at behind you, all the places they've gone and they've succeeded there, and they've moved on from there as well in the corporate world, in the professional world. And so for me, it's been a lot of fun because you as a head coach and the staff around me, we're all on the same page. We're here to develop these student athletes and help them learn how to be independent as they move on to their next path in life, if you will.
Coach Yamane, associate head coach, newly appointed associate head coach. Maybe you were that last year. I'm not really sure, but you're definitely the associate head coach this year. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And this concludes another episode. Please subscribe, like. I'm head coach Jeff Walker. I have the greatest job in college baseball, being the head coach at Santa Barbara City College. Looking forward to another episode of our Fear the Purse podcast.
Thanks for
This concludes another episode of the Fear the Purse podcast, the official podcast of Vaquero Baseball, keeping you updated on all things Vaquero Baseball. I am your host, Jeff Walker. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. Until next time, #VacPack, #Fear the Purse, and I will see you in the big leagues.